You watch 100 Mile Drive, and today I have 2023 or same for 2024 Honda CRV Hybrid Sport, a front-wheel drive model that has a 204 combined horsepower with 247 pound-feet of torque. This is exact the same car that most of you are shopping for. And the biggest question I have today is this a better car to drive and ultimately to buy than the outgoing Toyota Rav4 Hybrid that I reviewed about 6 months ago on this channel, and it got more than 50,000 views, so make sure to watch that, as I'm gonna reference that Rav4 in this video, and at the end I'll tell you which car drives better and which one I would personally buy. Let's get into it. And if you're watching 100 Mile Drive for the first time, which most of you are, well, this is the channel where I do dynamic drive reviews and also say, before you buy a car like this, sign a contract for like 5 years. You need to rent it from places like Turo for at least a day and drive it for 50 to 100 miles on city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And now a quick 60-second walk around of this 2023 Honda CRV Hybrid. Now I definitely like the front fascia of this car. I really love the new redesign. Also all these black sport accents. I mean, the black front grille, these wheels, this mirror caps, I think it looks fantastic. Now these are 18-inch wheels. These are 235/60 R18, very comfortable tires. These are all seasons. If you wanted to know, luckily no run flats. Honda didn't get to that. Now coming on the side, this does look like a longer car. It's grew like 2.7 inches compared to the previous one. And on the rear, I think it looks pretty fantastic. I don't see anything controversial or anything that'll, you know, scream or, you know, tell me that this car doesn't look good. In my opinion, it looks really good and definitely better than the previous gen. Now let's get on the inside. Now before I get on the inside, there's one quick disappointment I already see in this Honda CRV, and these door cup holders. I mean, look how small they are. Yes, I can put a bottle of water. That's great. Thank you, Honda. But what about, you know, this morning I got Starbucks and I try to put this and my lid kind of popped off. So this doesn't fit well. Actually, a smaller one, the tall will fit, but the grande is not fitting well. And my bottle, if I want to go to gym, forget about this. You can, yes, fit it in, but definitely not all the way. So this is one quick disappointment I do see. All right, now coming on the inside. Now, first thing I wanted to show you that this car you can only get with the black interior, and you can see you can easily leave fingerprints on this door or on this surface in general. It can be easily wiped off, but the cool thing, I don't see any scratches in this car. Now let me go ahead and start it. Now overall, this interior is very nice, very pleasant. This is what's called honeycomb interior, this retro looking dash. And the seats, look at the seats. This look like a, you know, Volkswagen Jetta kind of seats with the stitching, orange stitching. Overall, very cool sport seats that go really well with this trim. Now overall, the interior quality is outstanding. In my personal opinion, I think it's on par with Toyota, except for certain surfaces a little bit better quality. Like let's say this one. In Toyota, I pointed out how easily these surfaces were already scratched on a brand new car. Now these upper plastic panels, they kind of feel a little bit cheap, I would say, because if you can see here, there's a little scratch here. You can barely see it, but what I can say, this is not scratch resistant, at least not as much as I would like it to. And I think this is a little bit better. As far as everything molded pretty well, it moves a little bit, but it's, you know, nothing terrible. This is normal, nothing creaks actually. The centerpiece as well, you know, there's something inside that rattles there, but overall it's pretty solid. There's no creaking noises. Everything is very well molded. Now these are not top-notch materials like you'll see in my, you know, even the BMW X3 obviously, and it doesn't have to be, but everything is really cool. I love that there's these dials. You know, I just want to buy this car just because of these things, because BMW, I mean, removing all of this, Lexus removing all of this, everything is going into the screen. Now of course this small screen is not something I'm a fan of, so that's why I kind of recommend to look into the L trim, where you get a bigger 9-inch, I guess, screen, and also wireless CarPlay, so you don't have to deal with this wire to plug in your phone for the CarPlay. Overall, very cool interior, very spacious. These rear seats recline, and there's a lot of room in the back. All right, so this is what it looks like. Now let's go ahead and drive it. And first, I'm gonna drive Honda CRV in the city. I'm gonna put it in the drive. I'm gonna put it in sport mode, and we're gonna try acceleration. All right, let's go. All right, and the car is moving. Now, Honda and Car and Driver, actually, I like to check them out. They tested, this car does 0 to 60 in about 7.6 seconds. Honda CRV Hybrid that has 219 horsepower, a little more, does in like 7.3 seconds. So overall, this car feels adequate, okay? It doesn't feel super fast, but it feels, I would even say, more than adequate for what it is. It doesn't feel heavy, so this 204 horsepower moved this car pretty well. Now let me come to the stop sign and try the acceleration one more time. All right, let's go. And it's kind of whining at the little higher pitch. Now, one thing they've done differently in this hybrid system is that they increased the power band as far as how hybrid electric motor assisting, basically it's assisting at the higher RPM, and that's what creates a little bit more premium feel, and as well as it makes this car feel like you're driving a normal car, because it also does this kind of transmission shifts. Like in the Toyota Rav4 hybrid, you kind of feel how the transmission does this droney sound, and then, you know, it kind of tones down as you get to the higher speeds. And this one, actually, now let me move it to normal mode. Now listen to this. All right, accelerating. See how it's shifting gears? So the delivery of the power is slightly different. It actually feels, I would say, nicer in this Honda CRV, as they're kind of trying to hide that, you know, it's a CVT transmission. Although you cannot hide it that easily, you can still tell it is a CVT transmission. But the fact that there's like a higher kind of pitch, that how electric motor assists the gas engine, you can also feel that, especially, you know, when you rev it higher. So they've done pretty interesting thing as how they deliver power in this hybrid. Okay, let me try one more time. Flooring. Yeah, it feels like a normal car. It almost feels like you're, you know, like a 1.5 liter engine with the turbo, kind of. But nevertheless, it's a hybrid, and it's pretty adequate for this car. Now, where you're gonna feel it under power is when you go like on ramps, or if you have to go uphill, or if you have, let's say, 4 passengers in the full, you know, cargo loaded with stuff, and that's where you're gonna feel it a little bit underpowered. But overall, driving on regular streets, it feels more than adequate. And I actually like it in a normal mode more than the sports mode. In the sport mode, it kind of does a lot of more whining and, you know, revving, but there's not much more happening. It's not that it's moving faster, maybe slightly. So in normal mode, it feels kind of fine. So I would say for most people, this will be fine. It doesn't feel underpowered at all. Feels fine. Now the next thing, let's talk about steering in this car. Now steering in this car, it feels almost like electromechanical steering. The way it's tuned, it's light, but it's fairly precise. It's light, but it's fairly precise. Also feels like it's more numb. Like in Toyota, you can tell it's a regular steering. It's also pretty nice. It's set up also on the lighter side, even lighter than this one. But here, this steering feels like it's an Audi or something steering. But Audi is electromechanical steering. This is a regular steering. So it's pretty, what I'm trying to say with all this, it feels like a premium steering. And you could definitely tell that. There's leather wrap steering, and how precisely it actually, you know, listens to what you do, how precisely it moves with the car. It's quite amazing. And now coming to the next thing is suspension. I'm gonna talk about suspension quite a bit. And the biggest difference between the RAV4 hybrid and Honda CRV hybrid is gonna be suspension. And Honda did tremendous job, okay? They did tremendous job with this suspension, with this whole chassis. Now they added some sophistication to this. Like I drove a previous gen some time back, and it felt pretty straightforward, pretty simple, like the way it reacted to the bumps. This one added sophistications. Now this suspension is not firm, it's not soft, it's kind of like in the middle. This truly mimics the European rivals like a Volkswagen Tiguan or even Audi Q5, where it's basically eats all the imperfections. It responds really well to all the small little bumps, cracks on the pavement, all these little things on the road, but at the same time it has that firmness when you need it, which adds to a really good chassis control. Like this car responds really well. It does have some body lean, but it's kind of very controlled, and it's not as strong. Like in Toyota, everything is relaxed. The steering is relaxed. The suspension is more on the relaxed side, and all the movements, like you can tell, like Toyota is not a toastable car. Like you don't want to drive it fast. It's not what it's set up for. Where this car, you can enjoy cruising this car, and at the same time, if you want, you can drive this car aggressively as well. The way you can tell it's not super soft suspension is when you hit the bigger humps, bigger potholes, bigger bumps. That's where it reacts in a little harsher way than, let's say, Toyota. And now driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue, hitting all these imperfections, all these small little potholes, and you know what? It feels very pleasant. Like I said, this suspension has sophistication aspect to it, where it glides over the bumps. It very nicely handles them. Now, at the same time, it's not loose. The car is very well balanced, very well collected. It's just like you want to hit these bumps. I mean, let me tell you that. That's how nice it is. So that's what makes the car fun to drive, okay? Now we're getting to the aspect where this is, a family crossover that is a little bit fun to drive, okay? It would be more fun to drive if we added like turbos and, wider staggered tires and all wheels and all that. But for what it is, this car is not boring like it used to be boring, right? Now, Toyota RAV4 kind of more on the boring side, but it certainly caters, like, for someone who wants a softer ride, somebody who wants more cushioned ride. That's where Toyota RAV4 would be better than this. But this car caters, I would say, to a wider audience. It caters to younger crowd. It caters, I would say, to most people. And sophistication of the suspension could be explained this way. Like, that's where Europeans are really good at. Like, they'll smoothen all the smaller imperfections, all the bumps, provide that comfort, but they'll react harsher on the bigger bumps and potholes. But at the same time, they're able to retain really good body control of the car, and that's what makes European cars pretty unique, and it makes this Honda CRV unique as well. All right, and driving Honda CRV in my local neighborhoods, basically this car is very easy to drive around your local neighborhoods. It's very easy to steer, maneuver it. The steering, like I said, is light, but it's very precise, so it's easy to take corners. Also, you can drive this car a little bit more aggressive if you wanted to, because the body control, it doesn't shift back and forth, side to side. I kind of mentioned that in the Toyota RAV4, that when you drive it aggressively, that it's not that, it's more hesitant, basically. This car is eager, I would even say, and I'll show that on driving on twisty roads. As far as brakes, how do brakes feel? They don't feel mushy. They feel pretty solid. Of course, there is that regeneration. And by the way, speaking of regeneration, as you know, Honda added this what's called B range gear when I switched to B. and I'm able to increase the regen setting, right? They want people to start getting used to regeneration, so that's going to be like an easy transition to EVs. And what this does, it's like it's mimicking one pedal driving. Of course, it doesn't stop the car all the way, but you know, if you're in traffic, you kind of want to use your brakes less, and you want to kind of give power back to your battery. That's a pretty cool option, actually. I could certainly see how I could use this, especially in traffic, like a freeway stop and go traffic. So I kind of like this option. Of course, most of you are just gonna drive it in D and probably not bother with that. And even in D, you can use the setting by playing around with your paddle shifters. You can just, you know, let's say you kind of want to start slowing down, you just shift down, and then your car will be just stopping by itself. So, and then it'll disengage this by itself. So, you know, overall it's pretty cool. But what I'm trying to say, this car is really easy to drive in your local neighborhoods, whether you're picking up kids, you know, doing whatever your purchases. It has adequate power, good body control, where the car responds really well. It's not like super soft, it's not like firm, it's literally like a European rivals, like somewhere in the middle. Now let's drive it on a highway. I'm in my normal mode. Let's go, Honda. All right, this is where it's enough power, but where you're gonna feel it's a little bit underpowered is when you have to go uphill. Otherwise, it does pretty well. So what are we trying to see on the highway driving? We want to see a sound installation. We want to see if this is a good cruiser overall. And we want to check out mid-range power. Now, first is the sound installation. I have my meter. Overall, it's pretty quiet cabin. I would say it's pretty much the same as the Rav4 hybrid. Kind of the same for the class. It's not like better, much better, or it's not worse. I don't hear any excessive tire noise. I don't hear any wind noise from, you know, cabin hitting the wind noise hitting the windshield. Nothing abnormal. Feels pretty good. All right, so now I'm driving, let's see, about 65. It's about 65, which is not bad. It's about the same, like I said. Now, overall, is this car a good cruiser? And the answer is absolutely. Now, this car also comes standard with adaptive cruise control, and this is what I truly love about these cars, is that you don't have to like pay like in BMW. Like my car has almost every other option except, you know, I'm talking about BMW X3, except the adaptive cruise control. I mean, you must be kidding me. It should be a standard option like here. This car can steer, this car can maintain the speed and, with the car in front of me. So, you know, if I'm on a long drive, I mean, I want to have this feature, and I'm happy that base Honda CRV comes with this. It's really cool. The next thing I want to, let's just say that this is a good cruiser. Before I try to overtake some cars, you can absolutely take this on a long trips. Like I said, it's very spacious. The rear seats recline, and you can literally, like, you know, your family can sleep there while you are driving and enjoying the ride. And it's a very comfy ride. These tires are comfortable. Suspension is comfortable. As you know, on freeway, it's just a joy to drive. Really a joy to drive. So this car will be certainly good for long trips. All right, now let's try to overtake some cars. I'm gonna remove this adaptive cruise control just to see what the mid-range power. I'm still in a normal mode, right? Because I don't want to, you know, go in a sport mode. You could if you want to, but then there's a lot more revving going on. I think it can do just fine in the normal mode. Let's see. Yeah, it moves. It's not super fast. Of course, you're gonna floor your pedal really to the floor to make it go, but it does the job. It will feel slower when you have like 4 passengers. Like I said, you have your trunk loaded. Then, especially also if you're going uphill, then it'll feel slower. So, but for most tasks, it'll be just fine. It'll do just fine. I can see that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so now let me go ahead and drive it on twisty roads, and we're gonna discuss Honda CR-V's safety. Like, is this a good safe car to drive overall? All right, I'm now driving Honda CRV on the twisty roads. All right, let's go. I'm in the sport mode, and we just want to see basically. You can hear this whiny CVT transmission. We kind of want to see how this car will behave in a more dangerous situations. If somebody has to brake in front of you, if I have to brake more aggressively. We're not going to do anything crazy, but just drive it on a twisty roads. And that's where the character of this car will open up. Now, I already drove quite a bit on this road, so I kind of already know what it is. So I'm just going to kind of give you now my impression of this car. Now, taking the first corner. Now I'm going a little bit downhill, so I don't even have to carry high speed to see what this car is doing. So overall, this car, like I said, it's not firm, it's not soft, it's somewhere in between. And what you'll see on twisty roads like these is the body control. You are able to see how chassis reacting to all the cornering that we are doing here. And I'm amazed, first of all, from the steering. I'm pointing the steering and the car responds really well. So steering is very nicely responsive. It's pretty accurate. It feels, like I said, feels like Audi to me. In terms of the body control, there is some leaning, like it does lean in the corner. Now let's take one corner here. It does lean, yeah, it does lean a little bit, but it stays pretty planted. Like, there's no crushing, there's no dancing, there's no shaking, none of that. So it stays pretty good. This is the place where front collision warning doesn't like the car in front of me, but it doesn't know I'm going this way. Okay, luckily nothing alerted me. All right, so yeah, so no dancing, no shaking, no funky, you know, movements on the chassis. Everything is very predictable. Loving it, loving it. This feels like European car to me, like I said. If we had more aggressive, you know, staggered wheels, like a BMW type, this car would be even able to grip better. But even for the tires that it has, it does a fantastic job. So this tells me if somebody is to brake in front of me, this car is going to be able to overtake and stay in place. Or even if it slides, it's going to be predictable. It'll just understeer and I'll be able to control it. Now, in terms of brakes, they feel a little bit more delayed on the twisty roads, but they're not mushy. They don't deteriorate. Of course, you're going to have to drive for much longer than what I'm doing here. But they don't feel too much delayed. Usually, you know, in hybrid systems, you have a little bit more delayed brake response in more aggressive driving. Here, brakes feel fine. Actually, I don't even have to use them as much, but whenever I do, they respond pretty well. So overall, I'm very, very pleased with this new Honda CRV. Not only, like, you know, it's a family crossover that you can drive, you know, in the city and the highway, but you can even have fun with this car. You can, you know, bring it to twisty roads and enjoy precise steering, good body control, and even this, you know, new hybrid system. I kind of like what it does. It kind of mimics a small engine with a turbo, because it does this high pitch revving. It shifts similarly. So they've done something different than you'll see in a Toyota RAV4. So I'm pretty pleased to see this. All right, so this is what it is. Let me go ahead and summarize it and tell you which car I would personally buy, Honda CRV or Toyota RAV4. And I just finished a dynamic drive of the Honda CRV Sport, and oh boy, what I want to say, my impression is this car gave me more than what I expected. So Honda, you did a tremendous job. The biggest thing is the chassis work. I'm very much impressed the way they reworked the chassis. This body control, suspension is wow. Now, steering, I love the steering as well. It's quite direct and it feels almost like electromechanical steering. And even the hybrid system, it feels a little bit different than in the Toyota RAV4. It feels like I said, they're mimicking a small, like a 1.5 liter turbo engine type. Of course, it's a hybrid system, but there is, you know, the shifting and how there's a higher pitch. So it kind of feels quite interesting. Now, how this car stacks up against a RAV4 hybrid. Now, RAV4 hybrid would be for anyone who wants more just a soft car. You just want, you know, In fact, the Rav4 hybrid is faster than this, but the way it feels to drive is more relaxed, it's more mellowed down, it's more quiet down. It's good for long distance drives for sure, but it's not a very tossable car. Now this car is basically the best of both worlds, like I like to say. So it's soft enough, but at the same time it has that firmness you need for the car to be fun. So this car is fun to drive. It's like Audi type, you know, it has those European hints where it's fun enough to drive it even on the back roads, like you saw me driving on the twisty roads. So personally, I would get this. I would get this because they didn't make it firm like I brought on a channel Honda Civic, and that was firm, and I was disappointed in Honda Civic. But you know, it was just not catering to me. But this car has it all. It has enough firmness for me to have fun with it, and it's still soft at the same time to clear all the imperfections on the road. So, and my final feel score for this Honda is 8.5. Now, and if you like this review, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want to see more car like this on the channel, and I'll talk to you soon.